The moment I opened the hotel room door, my heart nearly stopped. There was only one bed, one queen-sized bed sitting in the middle of the room, like some cruel joke, while the woman I had spent 2 years trying to avoid stood by the window with her suitcase already unpacked. She slowly turned toward me, folded her arms, and gave me a tired smile that carried more exhaustion than anger. Then she quietly said, "One bed, don't make it awkward." At that moment, I thought the company retreat had become the worst night of my life. I had no idea it would become the night that changed everything I believed about people, forgiveness, and second chances. Before we begin, if you believe kindness can change lives, and everyone deserves a second chance, please take a moment to like this video, comment where you're watching from, share this story with someone you care about, and subscribe to the channel for more emotional stories like this. My name is Nathan, and I worked as a project manager for a fast-growing software company in Seattle, Washington, for almost 3 years. My biggest professional obstacle wasn't impossible deadlines or demanding clients. It was Olivia. She was brilliant, confident, and always seemed one step ahead of everyone else. Every meeting turned into an unspoken competition. Every successful project felt like another battle in an endless war. Promotions, recognition, bonuses, we seemed to be competing for all of it. The office had quietly divided itself into people who supported me and people who admired her. We never argued loudly, but the silence between us became sharper than any insult. When our manager announced the annual team-building retreat in the mountains of Colorado, I wasn't excited, but I figured a few days away from the office might help everyone relax. Unfortunately, a reservation mistake left the hotel completely booked. Somehow, after all the room assignments were shuffled around, Olivia and I were assigned together. Neither of us complained. Maybe we were both too tired to fight anymore. The first evening was painfully quiet. We stayed on opposite sides of the room, pretending our phones were more interesting than reality. During dinner, our coworkers laughed around the fireplace, while we exchanged only polite smiles. I assumed the trip would end exactly as it began, with distance and resentment. Later that night, the power suddenly went out after a violent snowstorm rolled across the mountains. The hotel staff handed everyone blankets and flashlights, while waiting for emergency generators to start. Since the heating system had stopped working, guests gathered in the main lounge, where a large stone fireplace became the only source of warmth. For the first time, the competition disappeared. People weren't managers, engineers, or executives anymore. They were simply human beings, trying to stay warm. As the fire crackled softly, Olivia finally broke the silence. She admitted that she almost quit 6 months earlier because her mother had been diagnosed with cancer. Every late night at work wasn't about ambition. It was about paying overwhelming medical bills. Every promotion mattered, because every extra dollar helped keep her mother's treatment going. Her words hit me harder than I expected. I had spent years convincing myself that she was ruthless, selfish, and obsessed with winning. I had never stopped long enough to ask what she might have been carrying behind her professional smile. After a long pause, I shared something I had never told anyone at work. My father had lost his small construction business during the pandemic. I had quietly been helping my parents cover their mortgage while trying to build my own future. The pressure to succeed had turned every project into something personal. Every compliment she received felt like another reminder that I wasn't doing enough. Neither of us had been enemies. We had simply been surviving. The next morning, the storm trapped everyone inside the lodge. Since outdoor activities were canceled, the retreat organizers improvised with group challenges. Surprisingly, Olivia and I ended up on the same team. For years we had tried to outperform one another. Now, success depended on cooperation. Instead of interrupting each other, we listened. Instead of competing for attention, we combined our strengths. By the end of the afternoon, our team won every challenge. Our coworkers couldn't believe how naturally we worked together. One colleague laughed and said they should have paired us years ago. Maybe they were right. That evening, Sitting outside beneath a sky filled with countless stars, I realized something uncomfortable. I had created an entire version of Olivia inside my head, without ever knowing the real person. Every glance, every email, every meeting had been filtered through assumptions. She had probably done exactly the same thing about me. The company retreat ended 2 days later, but something had quietly changed. Back in Seattle, we no longer competed to prove who was smarter. We challenged each other to build better ideas. Meetings became conversations instead of battles. Projects became partnerships instead of contests. Months later, our company landed its biggest client in history. The CEO surprised everyone by announcing a brand new leadership position that would oversee the entire product division. Everyone expected only one person to receive the promotion. Instead, both of us walked onto the stage together. The CEO smiled and explained that no individual achievement compared to what we had accomplished as a team. The company didn't need another lone star. It needed leaders who could trust each other. As applause filled the room, I looked at Olivia. Neither of us had won. Both of us had. A few weeks later, I visited her mother during one of her recovery treatments. She smiled warmly and thanked me for standing beside her daughter. When life became difficult, I didn't know how to explain that. In many ways, Olivia had stood beside me too. Sometimes, life doesn't place rivals in our path to defeat us. Sometimes it places them there because they're carrying the same invisible burdens we are. Looking back, I still smile whenever I remember that awkward hotel room with one bed. What felt like terrible luck became the beginning of one of the strongest friendships of my life. It taught me that pride builds walls, but understanding builds bridges. We waste so much time judging people by what we see on the surface, never realizing everyone is fighting battles hidden behind polite smiles. If that reservation mistake had never happened, I might have spent the rest of my career believing I had an enemy. Instead, I found someone who reminded me that compassion often begins the moment we stop assuming and start listening. Before we reach the end, I'd love to hear from you. Please leave a comment with the words, "Kindness changes everything." If you believe understanding someone can completely change a relationship, and if this story touched your heart, reminded you of someone you've misunderstood, or inspired you to give someone a second chance, please like this video, share it with your friends and family, subscribe to the channel, and leave your thoughts below. Your support helps these stories reach more people who may need a little hope today, because sometimes the person we call our rival is simply someone waiting for us to see the human being behind the struggle. And when that finally happens, both lives can be changed forever.